Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Talk podcast. Streaming platforms are Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, anywhere you stream your podcast, or we are here on YouTube, Girls Gotta Talk podcast. You can come subscribe, join the fam over here. Yeah, I'm kind of taking the time right now that I have it to sit and record episodes that I need recorded. I know in last week's episode, and also if you follow the Girls Gotta Talk podcast Instagram, I have posted that I'm not necessarily being on a schedule lately and going forward until I don't even know when. I'm going to say further notice, but I don't know when that further notice is going to go until. I kind of struggled a few weeks ago. I know I took a little hiatus and break, whatever you want to call it, over here in January after I had gotten sick and didn't want to stress myself with having to make sure I have episodes up, recorded in general, and then posted, scheduled, all of that whole shebang. But I also was trying to make sure that I could have posted my stuff on a weekly basis. Apparently, I'm already struggling in that little situation, but I feel like it's not, I don't know, not the worst that could be going on. So I had struggled a few weeks ago because daycare's closed, work schedule, trying to figure out when to record. I couldn't, but I wasn't trying to let that stress me out. I know I talked about this in last week's video, or episode, but I'm just kind of trying to post when I can post. If it has to be a few days late, like one of the last episodes was, in my mind, I'm kind of like, so be it. If I, for some reason, I don't know, have it done and get really excited, I might just put it out early for you guys. I don't know. We'll see what goes on going forward. But for now, I know the last couple episodes have been not on Wednesdays. They've actually been later in the week, but I still feel good about just getting them out anyways for you guys, whether it's later on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think one of the last episodes was even posted on sometime on a Saturday, but yeah, they're just kind of being put out there when they can be put out there. But yeah. Anyways, into this episode. I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like typically, even though it is the shortest month we ever have, February, I feel like typically goes by the slowest for me, which I always thought was super weird. I feel like it might have been an in my head type situation because I remember when I was in like 7th grade, there was this teacher that had always talked about how February was always the slowest month for them and they couldn't understand why. And it was the shortest month. It should go by the fastest and yada, yada, yada. And I don't know why that stuck with me. I remember that. Like, I can still remember sitting at that desk and I was like, how? Like, I've never noticed that before. Like, I mean, at that age, I was like, what, 12, 13 years old? Like, I don't think I ever sat and realized months that go by super quick, like months that go by super slow. Like, I was just kind of living day to day. Like, I was going to school, obviously, Monday through Friday, trying to do whatever we could on the weekends, like dreading going to school on Monday, like that type of situation. I wasn't sitting and thinking, like, wow, April goes by so slow. Like, I wish it would go by faster. Like, what did I need to look forward to really at that point to be like, I wish this month would just fly by? The only month you probably wish that on was like June, because that was when like school was ending. But um yeah, so with needless to say, I feel like I always had that in my head and like started to realize like years after that wow, like she was so right. Like February goes by so slow. And even like to this day, like I'm always like February just drags on. Like I don't know what it is. I feel like it was kind of the opposite this year. I feel like January lasted so long. It was so long. I don't know, like I'm not like it was long in a bad thing, it was long in a good way. Like it was just a really long month. I don't know if it was because we started a new year and it just literally like kind of shaping how the year is going to go and you're just figuring everything out still day to day. I don't know if it was because I got sick and it was like the worst thing ever. Like I was just down pretty bad. I don't know what it was, but I feel like January just dragged on and February is kind of speeding by, which honestly makes sense with it having less days than every other month. But from when I'm recording this, it is February 20th. I'm actually ahead on these episodes, which is kind of surprising. Like I said, I'm taking the time that I have to get a lot done, but today is February 20th. Like there's a week left in February already, and I feel like it just started. Um like there's 28 days in February, there's technically 8 days left. Basically a week, but that's crazy to me. Like to think about next weekend is literally going to be the beginning of March kind of throws me off guard. I don't know why. Like I'm like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I actually sat and thought about, and I'm like, I don't know what I expect months to go by fast for, but they just kind of do. Like you don't really think about it, and next thing you know, you're like asking what the date is or something, and people are like, yeah, like we're almost done with this month, and you're like, wait, what? But I just kind of wanted to put out there some things I feel like I did to make February like I don't know, kind of the start of the year. I feel like the start of the year, I don't want to say was bad, but I feel like it could have started a little better. It was just kind of like a trial run, and February was actually the start of the year. Um, I know most of the time we start a new year, we try to set goals for ourselves. I feel like I'm always setting a goal of saving money in some capacity. I feel like lately it's been kind of on coffees because I spend so much on coffee. It's not even funny, but I feel like February, I went a lot of the month of just buying myself that coffee. Yes, was I buying maybe 2 a day? There was good potential, but I was just kind of like, you know what? I want it. I'm going to get it type of situation. That scenario is definitely something I need to break within myself, but it definitely, I just was like, oh, I want coffee. I'm going to go get it. Telling myself I need it is a whole different situation, but if I was getting out of work and I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna get that little pick me up, I'm gonna go get a coffee. I just kind of went and got it. Um, Kind of a treat yourself type of situation, but yeah, the next thing I was kind of doing was trying to put a more time aside for like me time situation. I feel like I don't do that for myself enough. Not that it's usually a problem for me, like I don't ever think of it as too much of a problem, but it was just kind of nice to be able to do. I continued reading um ever since I got sick and I had like the worst headache you could probably imagine. Reading was not on my mind at all. So I'm technically still reading a Christmas book which I started in December, so like good timing and everything, but it is now the end of February, like I said, going into March. I don't really want to be reading like Christmas vibe anymore. I'm also not the type of person to just I don't know. I barely not finish a book once I've started it. I might not like it too much, but for some reason I end up forcing myself to like finish reading it. I don't know why I do that, but most of the time it's just like I don't like having a book unfinished, which I don't know, is kind of weird. I feel like if I don't like it, I don't have to finish it, but I don't know. I just don't like having a book unfinished if I finished. And now with the fact that I'm literally almost through it, like I have less than 100 pages finally of this book. It's like, why am I just gonna stop here? Like, I might as well just finish it. But it's a very like, it was a romance novel, so I feel like with the month of February, it kind of fit like romance vibe. Like everyone just thinks of February. I don't know. I don't want to say like love month, but like yeah, Valentine's Day. Um, and I feel like people just kind of drag it. I don't want to say drag it, but they put it for most of the month since it's in the middle. Like you either gear up for it or like you just keep going with the rest of the month. But I was reading a romance novel fitting for February. Like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't mad about it, but I'm just not really feeling the Christmas vibe anymore. Like, I love Christmas. When I was reading it in January, I was like, "Oh, it just ended. Like, it's not that far." But now we're getting like into March. So like we're like a quarter of the way through the year already, which is kind of crazy besides the fact, but I don't know, like I don't want to be reading a Christmas book anymore. So like I'm kind of forcing myself, I would say, to get through this book, but at the same time like I also got books for Christmas that I've really been wanting to read. Um I know going into like spring and summer there's just a different vibe in books. So I want to get into those and be able to get into those when I want to. I don't know. I'm just at the point where I still want to read like romance books. Like I love romance books, cheesy romance. It is what it is. Love those, but I don't know. I feel like even after February's over, like those are still good. It's just it depends on what the plot is within the book. But I've been kind of reading and doing a lot of sitting and reading instead of like little other tasks like maybe recording a podcast or like anything like that, any work related stuff. So, haven't been too upset, but I've just kind of given myself that time to get those things done. I did go to the store the other day. I forget what I was like actually picking up. It was probably just like stuff to either snack on for I think it was before Super Bowl, actually. I don't remember. I went to the store for something and I ended up finding those like Pillsbury heart-shaped, well they're not heart-shaped. They have they're little sugar cookies, but they have hearts on them. And I was like, "Oh, that's so festive. That's so cute." Got those, baked those. Those are probably my favorite cookies. So like I definitely was not mad about it, but I just feel like it was very festive and fit the theme of February. So that was really fun to have and make. My son ended up liking them too. So it's always a good time to share like little snacks with him. Um I will say it has been so cold. We've had two snowstorms now. Normally we get like one, I want to say like really good one. We had a couple like flurries here and there and like little things going on, but then we got hit with like 4 or 5 inch snowstorm, which was definitely the worst I think we've gotten this year. And it was honestly end of January, like early February type of situation. So we almost made it through winter without having anything. But now everything is all just icy and it's just so crappy. I'm so over it. I definitely want the warmer weather. It's been situations lately that's like the temp itself might not be like too bad, but it's the wind. Like it's been so windy lately that it's been unbearably cold outside and gross and just not good. The sun, I feel like, hasn't been out in a while. And I feel like if you listen to my getting myself out of my February funk episode, I feel like a lot of my problems, I would say, for being in a funk and all that would be if it was better weather. At this point, I'm just so ready for definitely warmer days. Like, I swear the other day it was like, oh, 30 degrees. And I'm like, oh, like that's not bad compared to what we've had. But because it was so cold, it was like, oh, feels like 6. And I was like, that's awful. Like, that's a big difference in temperatures. And then you walk outside and you definitely feel it. But I feel like if at least the sun was out, it was bearable to like stand outside for longer than like 10 seconds without feeling like you're about to get frostbite or something. My mood would definitely be lifted. Like that definitely changes mood situations, but I don't know. There was one day um beginning of February where it kind of, I want to say warmed up, but like it was probably like 30 degrees if I'm being honest, but I feel like I kind of took advantage and I picked up my son early from daycare, brought him to the park. We were able to play outside for I would say at least an hour. It was kind of cold, but at the same time, I think I said it in another episode that I didn't have anything to change him on me, and he ended up pooping in his diaper. So that was our main reason for leaving. I will say, besides the fact I am sitting in my car like I typically would do to record a podcast episode in a parking garage, and it is currently like 4:30, and a lot of people are leaving for work. So if you hear a lot of cars in the background. I am so sorry, but I didn't clearly fully think this through. I was kind of eating lunch in my car because I hadn't really eaten today, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and like whip out my laptop and record some episodes. But now a lot of cars are going by, and I'm like, oh, I'm hoping they can't hear this in the background. But um, anyways, back to the park. I kind of took advantage because I was like, wow, like it was just so nice to be able to sit outside, get some fresh air. Like I said, be outside longer than at that point, like 20 minutes without needing to go inside, needing to feel heat from somewhere, like absolutely freezing my butt off. I think, I don't want to say next week because I think the week, if you're hearing this, I think it's going to be the week that it's starting to warm up for us. Like honestly, 40, 45 degrees, which compared to what it has been, especially with snowstorms, is going to feel like a heat wave. Like as long as it's not windy, it's going to feel so nice and kind of a little tease of hopefully spring coming in the next few weeks compared to what we've kind of been going through. So that was definitely super, super nice. I feel like I'm hoping in the next few days it'll be the same. I'm just worried about ice. I'm really not trying to have my son because I would definitely take him to the park. I'm hoping by then the ice is melted in a lot of places because I feel like that's the worst of everything right now is everything is just a sheet of ice. And I don't want him running around and like slipping on that because I could just see that going so bad. So I'm hoping that melts before or like when the nice weather comes so that way we could actually again just go out and enjoy some fresh air day at the park type situation. But yeah, that was definitely a good time. Um Another thing I've actually been doing lately is I don't know if this kind of goes back to like me time situation or just putting everything outside world, if you will, on like a pause. I feel like I've been putting my phone on do not disturb a lot lately. Um I don't have like any notifications that are able to come through when my phone is in do not disturb. I do have certain people. I have 4 people that in any instance can get in contact with me and that is my parents and my brothers. So I have my mom, my dad, and both my brothers are the only notifications that will come through anytime my phone is in do not disturb. Just for any purpose of if they need to reach me, but anyone else, I will see it when I either go on my phone or take my phone off of do not disturb. But I feel like I've been putting it on to kind of keep myself more focused on things I want to do. Um, if I don't see the notification come through, then I feel like I'm not on my phone as much because sometimes I'll either answer a text or answer like a DM or a message or something. And then I end up finding myself like scrolling through this or looking through that when really I only wanted to go on just to answer someone and then like go back to what I was doing. So at that point, like if I don't see the notification like right then and there, I'll get to it. Like I'm definitely the type of person that like needs to respond to people. I don't kind of leave it hanging there. But I'll just get to it probably at a later time. And that restricts me almost from scrolling for no reason or looking at something that I don't need to be looking at that moment. Like I could be doing something else. And I don't know, I've been kind of liking it. I've been kind of enjoying that time, if I'm being honest. So that is definitely something I'll probably keep doing, but I've noticed I've been doing it a lot lately. Um, February. What else did we do in February? February was Super Bowl. Super Bowl was February 9th, I want to say. Um, I work in retail, so I did end up working that morning into the afternoon. Um, Crazy, of course, but I did come home, kind of watch the Super Bowl. I stayed home, so I did watch it. My family was home, my parents and one of my brothers. I started watching it. I watched like half of the first half. Like I didn't watch much, if I'm being honest. I kind of started watching it, ended up falling asleep on the couch. I kind of felt myself kind of like dozing on and off, that at some point I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to fall asleep. Ended up falling asleep on the couch. I woke up when there was very little time. I don't even know how much time it was, but very little time of the second quarter. Is that a thing? Before the first half was done, I woke up and then I literally watched the halftime show because I really wanted to see it. And after that, I really didn't watch any of the second part of the game. I literally went to bed. I went in my room. Yeah, that was it. I literally laid down. I don't even know if I put something on to like watch for a little bit or if I literally just fell asleep, but I was probably in bed by like 10:30, something like that, and was asleep. I would say rather quickly, but barely watched it. I was kind of going to watch the whole game, but then it was kind of a boring game, to say the least. I'm not actually typically a football fan, but I don't know. Super Bowl gets kind of exciting. Like sometimes it's just like really close, competitive, whatever. But this game was just not it for me for some reason. So I really was not interested. So the fact that I barely watched it didn't really upset me. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't really the vibe that night. I was also like super tired from working a lot and being up kind of early and a busy day and all that, that I just wasn't upset about wanting to go to bed. Um, Another thing I've been doing this month has been, I don't know, I've been really into podcasts, like listening to podcasts, getting really excited when new episodes drop of certain podcasts. I've re-listened to some that I know I've listened to and that I just absolutely loved for some reason. I've been really into the Call Her Daddy episode with Shay Mitchell. It's called Let Him Go, You Deserve Better. I think she actually recently just posted. I don't want to say like recently. I know she posts a lot of like old episode as like a flashback Friday situation. So a lot of her old episodes do come up. I don't want to say new, but like recent, like time to time. And I want to say I either saw it or remembered it and I looked it up and I was listening to it again. And I don't know what it is about Shay Mitchell, but I just love her. I love her so much. I loved her character in Pretty Little Liars. That was like how I kind of was introduced to her. That's how I kind of know her. Pretty Little Liars is definitely top comfort show for me. So I've definitely seen it a million times. And I don't know what it is, but her character, her name is Emily in the show. I just love her vibe. I loved her. And it's kind of made me love like Shay Mitchell as like a person. The way she talks and the way she, I, I don't want to say like explains how she lives her life, but she talks about how like what she thinks at certain parts of her life, like what she thinks about people, what she thinks about like situations. Like I know she said at one point she was like, I have one life, so I'm going to try to live it to the fullest, which of course everyone should, but for some reason like she's just the type of people, like she's just the type of person that there's always some people that you could like listen to and just the way they talk about things and just like their tone of voice or something just makes you hear what they're saying and think about things in such a different way. And she's just one of those people for me. Like the way she explains things, the way she talks feels so like genuine and gentle almost, I want to say. I don't know how to explain it. There's just the way some people talk where I'm just like, you make so much more sense for some reason because of the way you like gently speak, I guess. I don't know, but she's just been one of those people for me. So I've definitely been loving that episode again. I like I said, I have heard it before, but the first time I heard it, I was like, wow, like that was amazing. Like I love you. But yeah, I'm like trying to think of like backtracking through February. I think that's really everything I've kind of focused on and did. Um I don't want to say that's kind of what I did to like romanticize my February, but I feel like February was just actually kind of the start of the year for me. So I tried to I don't want to say make it better than January was, because I'm not going to say like January was awful. It just felt really weird to me. And I've actually heard a lot of people say that January lasted so long, like January just kind of dragged on. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that, but I definitely tried to reboot some things for February, and then I kind of want to turn it around and like make March like a crazy crazy start to the year. Um Even though like I said, that will make us a quarter of the way through this year already. That's crazy, but better late than never to just start everything out this year. But yeah, with that being said, that is all I have for this episode. I love you guys so, so much. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I'll see you next week back with a brand new episode. Bye.